meeting is being recorded.
Hello.
So welcome to everybody. We are waiting 1 or 2 minutes before starting. People are still coming. Hello. So welcome to everybody. We are here for one more session of the Logical Universalist webinar. Today's session is about the World Logic Prize Contest. And the chair of the session is Ivan Varzinczak, who was the winner of the first World Logic Prize Contest. So please, Ivan, let's go on.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Jean-Yves, for the kind invitation to chair this session, which is a real honor for me. And well, as you have just mentioned, so I won the first prize, which was held in France, in Vichy, in 2018. So back then, it was much easier to enter the competition because France had a great team at the time. As you may remember, they even won the World Cup. But this year it was much more difficult, right? So with top contenders, so to say. So it's a great pleasure for me to be here and be the chair of the new world champion, who is Ciro Russo. It's a great pleasure and an honor for me to be here today.
Okay, Ivan. So now I will say a few words before Ciro presents his paper, his talk. I will say a few words about the story of the Logic Prize Contest. So the second World Logic Prize Contest took place this year in April in Crete at the 7th Congress on Universal Logic. We had 15 participants from 15 different countries. So the idea of this Logic World Prize contest is to have a contest among logicians around the world. Each member of the contest, each participant of the contest is a winner of a prize in one country. So we start to develop Logic Prize around the world since a couple of years. The first prize was created, in fact, in Brazil. It was the Newton da Costa Logic Prize. And after that, we created a prize in other countries in the world. Now we have 15 prize in 50 different countries. And we hope to have more prizes for the next contest, which will take place at the next Unilog scheduled in Cusco, Peru, in 2025. Let me give you some basic ideas about this prize. So the idea is to promote interaction between people working in logic in each country, and to promote interaction between logician, all kind of logician, because as we know, logic is student, developer, teacher in different departments. It can be philosophy, it can be computer science, it can be mathematics. So it's good to promote interaction because people are spread in different locations. And the idea to have a prize in a country is to promote interaction of all kinds of logicians in each different country, in each of these countries. And then the winner of this prize meet together as a Logic Prize contest. So we have an idea of what is going on in different countries around the world. So this for the second World Logic Prize contest, we had some people from really very different countries in the world. I mean, we have people from India, people from, of course, different countries of Europe, people from South America, people from Mexico, and people from Asia. So it's quite interesting to have this interaction. And we hope to, in the future, to have more interaction. So if some people here are interested to develop, create a prize, they are welcome to contact us to do so. It was a great pleasure to create the Alfred Torsky Logic Prize in Poland, since Alfred Torsky is a very famous logician, and Poland is a very important country for logic. We also created the prize for in Greece, Aristotle Prize of Logic, also very important. And since the event was in Crete, it was nice to have the participation of someone from Greece. And then the winner, who is here today and will present this talk, Ciro Russo is originally from Italy, but he's working in Brazil since a couple of years. Like me, I mean, in Brazil, we have people from all over the world. But it's good to point out that our prize, even if this prize is organized by country, it's not something nationalistic in the sense that we don't even require the contestant to have the nationality of the country where he's working on. What is important is that he's working in this country since a couple of years. But I guess I think that Ciro now is nearly Brazilian, so maybe, yeah. All right. So, well,
Not
before
nearly, I am Brazilian too.
you are Brazilian. Okay, good. All right. Not my case yet, but let's see. And we have here Chaka Parnava, who was working in Brazil during a couple of years. No? But you are not Brazilian, no? We cannot hear you. Your microphone is off.
I worked at the University of Bahia for 6 years.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, in a way, I am a Bayano.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, it was before I moved to Bahia, but
I have sweet memories.
I think it was in the 80s or in the 90s.
In the 70s.
In the 70s. Oh,
Yeah, it was before you were born, so.
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, from 1974 to 1980.
Okay, no, 1980, I was already born.
And also, I would like to thank the jury of the prize. So Ivan was president of the jury. Alexei Moravitsky, who is here also today, was one of the members of the jury. And the member is very important, of course, because they decide who is the winner. I was not. I am the creator of the contest, but I was not member of the jury. And they did a great job because, they were listening to all the talks during all the day. I mean, from 9 in the morning to 9 at night, because some people arrive late. So it was a lot of work. And the idea of this contest is very important to emphasize this point. In that, of course, there is a papers which are published. This time we succeed to publish it before the event in Logical Universalist. But the presentation, the oral presentation also is very important criteria to make the decision. Maybe Ivan, you can tell more, you can tell us more about that. How the jury, how was the work of the jury and how you proceed to choose the winner?
Yeah, it was a great experience to be a member of the jury, also to be the president in a sense. And so the whole process, of course, we had to, we didn't really have time to read in detail all the papers beforehand, of course. So we had to base our decisions mostly on the talks and also based on the interaction between the speaker and the audience, the jury, because only the jury members were able to ask questions. And then we had to take all of that into account. And then it was quite tough, the decision, I must say, because there were many good candidates, of course, contestants, of course. And then by the end of the day, which was a quite long day, we managed to come up with a consensus. And then the winner was announced. Yeah, but it was a great experience, and I'm pretty sure that Ciro will enjoy it next time in 2025 when he gets to participate in the jury in 2025. Yeah,
I'm terrified.
But Ivan, what was your impression about the diversity of work which were presented there? Because it was quite a different work, from different people. So that was one of the difficulties, because logic is very wide subject, so it's difficult to compare.
I think you've done a good job when selecting all the members of the jury, so that we had enough diversity, especially with people from philosophy and other areas that I'm not really familiar with. So that helped me a lot. It was really great to have them as members of the jury. So I'm very thankful to all of them. All right. So I think it was, there was most of the areas were well represented in the jury, just as they were in terms of contestants. So really the composition of the jury helped me a lot. And I've learned quite a lot of things as well, thanks to the interaction I had with them.
Okay. So are there any questions? If not, we can go to the talk.
Okay, so I'll briefly introduce you to our speaker today, Ciro Russo. who is a professor of mathematics at the at the Federal University of Bahia in Brazil, where he's been a professor for 8 years now. But he's been traveling around for quite a while. So he got his master's originally from the University of Naples and his PhD from the University of Salerno. After that, he spent some time as a visiting assistant professor in Nashville. And he was also a postdoc in Salerno and then a visiting professor at the Federal University of Bahia before getting his current appointment. So yeah, it's a great pleasure for me to let Ciro start his talk now. And if you, I don't know what the usual protocol is, but if you have questions, I assume we have them at the end, right? So then I will try to monitor here whenever you raise your hand, and so that we can organize for the questions afterwards, right? All right. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Ivan. Thank you very much, Yaniv, for the organization, for getting involved in such big job of organizing all this stuff all around the world. And well, first of all, let me share the screen. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as I said, yeah, well, for me too, it was a very nice experience in this, well, not only the World Logic Prize contest, but the whole conference. Unilog, I was planning to attend it several times, but for a reason or another, including, you know, moving from a continent to another, and children and so on, and then I ended by waiting until 2022 to participating. And what was actually, it was possibly the farthest one from where I was staying at the moment. I mean, there were other universal logic conferences much closer to me in the past. Then this time I had to travel the whole world to get to Greece. And one interesting thing is that my one of my PhD advisor is Greek, and is one of the two authors, both Greek, of the first paper which all this theory started developing, which is Konstantin Tsinakis, who is in Vanderbilt University, and the other author is Nikolaos Galatos. So it was very nice for me to receive this prize in Greece. It was a very nice coincidence. Well, I'm basically going to use the same slides of the Universal Logic Conference, but I will try to spend less time on technical details and more on the commenting on the idea and on what are the perspectives for the future, because I already have in mind future works about that. Well, the title of the paper is Coproduct and Amalgamation of Deductive Systems by Means of Ordered Algebras. Basically, all theory is, as I said, started with a paper by Galatos and Tsinakis, in which they show that basically any propositional deductive system can be very well represented, and it's possible to work to see it as a special algebraic structure, ordered algebraic structure. I will introduce in a few seconds. And it is mainly on propositional logics, but this is not a limitation. I must say that for years, I also thought it was a limitation, and there was no way to move from propositional logics to higher order logics. But then I realized that this is not exactly true. because yes, the representation by means of quantales and quantale modules I'm going to use, of course, is applicable only to propositional logic. But the point is that propositional logics are the deductive skeleton of any logic. So all the results we obtain, possibly with a few more work, can be adapted and can be extended to higher order logics. And this is exactly my plan for the future. On the other hand, propositional logics are those who are better connected with universal algebra. So essentially, I will say that basically any propositional logic have an algebra-based semantics, which that, of course, I'm not saying that it has an equivalent algebraic semantics. I'm just saying that has a class of algebras which are somehow related with the given logic. So, as I said, Galatas and Sinakis showed in 2009, a paper in the Journal of Symbolic Logic, that the quantale modules are able to fully represent propositional deductive systems. Actually, they didn't even use the notation of quantales and modules. They rather used complete residuated lattices and complete residuated partially ordered monoids and complete partially ordered sets. But after all, they're isomorphic categories. So I prefer to use quantale and quantale modules because a lot of things, in my opinion, are clearer with this approach. And after I met Sinakis in 2005, actually they already have good part of the paper ready. He was already traveling the world presenting this stuff, and I met him in Salerno. He came to Salerno and eventually became my co-advisor. And I worked on my PhD thesis on the development of mainly the algebraic and the categorical aspects of all this stuff. So basically of quantales and quantale modules, which are relatively young theory. But I felt like some payback to logic was due. And for various reasons, I had to stop working on this stuff for a few years, and then I went back to it. And so my targets for this paper, at least, were to show how quantale modules are able to take into account also the expansion of languages, and how can we join together different deductive systems, possibly with different languages or with the same language, doesn't matter, and they may or may not have a common fragment. And so how to build a new system which is able to encompass, to represent, to maintain all the deductive apparatus of the previous one, of the original ones. And this is something that is there anybody? Okay. This is something I was, let's say, we already showed that was possible, at least from the algebraic viewpoint. But the question remained that how does these systems that we obtained only with the algebraic and with the categorical constructions are they really deductive systems? Because they didn't really look like propositional logics. And indeed, this was this is the main difference between the first target here, the language expansion, for which the categorical construction actually give us, although in disguise, give us a new real deductive system, while the coproduct and amalgamation of quantale modules do not give us really a deductive system. So we have to do some more work to get a new system. So let's see how, first of all, some preliminaries, so some basic definitions. Well, what is a quantale? A quantale is essentially a complete residuated lattice. It can be presented in various shapes, in various ways. Sometimes it is presented as a monoid in the category of sublattices, for instance. Anyway, it is as an algebraic structure, as an object. It is a complete residuated lattice. So it is a complete lattice with a multiplication which distributes over arbitrary joins. I use this notation in order to emphasize that the category in which I consider quantales has a homomorphism which only need to preserve arbitrary joins and the monoid structure, doesn't need to preserve the infimum. And what is a Q-module? So given a quantale, a left Q-module is a sublattice with a scalar multiplication with coefficients in the quantale, satisfying usual module properties. So it is essentially we have a ring-like structure, which is the quantale, and a ring module-like structure, which is the quantale module. And many things can be transferred easily from theory of ring modules to the one of quantale modules, of course, with suitable modifications. And but there is an important class of operators over quantales. There is a definition also for quantales, but in this case, I'm interested more in the nucleus over a Q-module, which is another way, essentially another way to represent congruencies on quantale modules. So for congruencies in quantale modules, we have various representation, of course, as a homomorphic image. You know, the quotient can be seen as a homomorphic image, of course, as in the classical case, but it can be represented also by means of the image of a nucleus. A nucleus is essentially a closure operator, so it is an extensive idempotent monotone map from the module to itself, which is in addition has this property that I may call sublinearity, if you wish. Sometimes I heard this name, sublinearity, and the image of a closure of a nucleus can be endowed with a new structure of quantale modules, so with the same quantale, which happens to be a homomorphic image of the original module. And this class of operators is extremely important, as we shall see in a moment. Now let me show some preliminaries on propositional logic. So as usual, by a propositional language, I mean a set of connectives with each of which has a narrative. At this stage, I don't need to impose any hypothesis on finitarity. It is not necessary. Of course, as usual, we have the enumerable set of variables, and the set of formulas over the given language is defined in the usual manner, as well as the monoid of substitutions. The monoid of substitution is defined as the endomorphism monoid of the absolutely free algebra, which is F, the algebra of formulas over the given language. And for our purposes, it is good to look at the sets of equations over the same language as simply as the Cartesian square of the set of formulas. And in the same way, we can see a set of sequence closed under types as a suitable union of power sets of the set of formulas. So all I'm going to say applies to formula system, equational systems, and sequence systems. And indeed, I will use the term domain instead of set formulas, equational sequence, just for avoiding repetitions. So from now on, a domain of a deductive system will always be a fixed one of these sets, you know, either a set of formulas or a set of equations or a set of sequence closed under types. And by propositional logic, I mean a domain of the deductive system with sometimes called the Tarskian consequence relation. So consequence relation can be seen as a binary relation over the power set of the domain, satisfying these conditions. This is absolutely equivalent to the definition of consequence relation given by Walsh and Sushko in the 50s. And it is well known that propositional deductive systems can be propositional, let's think that consequence relations can be represented by means of consequence operators. Consequence operator is essentially a closure operator over the power set of the domain ordered by set inclusion. The problem with this representation is that it totally forgets the language. So it is not able to represent the language, to take into account the language. So it only takes into account the relationship between the consequence relation and the order relation of subsets of the domain. And here comes the intuition of Galatos and Xenakis. They show that if we add this sublinearity property, so if we consider instead of just closure operators, nuclei on the module. Well, first of all, they observed that the power set of the domain of the deductive system with set theoretic union can be seen as a left module over the quantale obtained by the power set of the monoid of substitution with set theoretic union, and an obvious adaptation of the concept of the multiplication. Multiplication here is the composition extended to sets of substitutions. And in this way, it becomes a quantale, and the power set of the domain becomes a module. And in this way, we can represent the consequence relation or the consequence operator not only as any closure operator, but as a nucleus. And it turns out that here we have a bijective correspondence. Any P sigma L module nucleus over the power set of D corresponds to a consequence relation on the same power set, so on the same domain. So we have this better representation of deductive systems by means of consequence of closure operators. And then the main result of the paper was that with this representation, we can we have this equivalence. We have that the propositional deductive system is interpretable in another one over the same language, if and only if there is a homomorphism of P sigma of L modules between the corresponding lattices of theories. Of course, I think I forgot to tell that. Okay, yeah. When we represent the consequence relation as a module nucleus, the image, so the homomorphic image of the power set of the domain is exactly the lattice of theories. So the lattice of theories, from now on, I will call it the module of theories. The module of theories is a module over the power set of sigma L, and it's exactly the image under the nucleus associated to the consequence relation at hand. And so they show that a P sigma L module homomorphism between the modules of theories of two theories is sufficient to build a concrete interpretation of one system to the other. So one of the main, let's say the main result having to do with logic in my thesis was to extend this result of Galatos and Xenakis to situations in which we have different languages. Of course, when we have different languages, we have more complicated situation. Now we have modules over different quantales. So we need, first of all, a way to put them in the same category. And the category of sublattices is not enough. We already know it. And so I was able to extend this result by introducing the concept of language translation, in which the word language is emphasized exactly because it is not translation in the sense that appeared in literature before, like in Tarski and so. In previous works, the word translation was very often synonymous of interpretation. In my case, I had to separate the two things. So translation is only a combinatorial object, combinatorial map from the connectives of one language to the other. And it induces quantile homomorphism. And when we have a quantile homomorphism, we can put all the modules over the codomain of this morphism. They automatically become modules in the category of modules over the quantile of the domain of this quantile homomorphism. And this way we could extend this result. And but as I said, I worked mainly on the algebraic part. So I extended, I developed the algebraic and categorical theory of quantile modules. And one of the achievement was to adapt to quantales and quantile modules the so-called restriction of scalars along H, which is what I just said. When we have quantile morphism from Q to R, every R module becomes automatically a Q module in a suitable way. And we have a way back. So we have a left adjoint to this functor, which uses the concept of tensor product. So I'm not going into details of tensor product here, but the interesting thing is that this procedure, this left adjoint, is called in the theory of ring modules extension of scalars. So the idea is that we are constructing a new module which contains not necessarily an isomorphic copy of the original one, but at least a homomorphic copy, a homomorphic image of the original one as a submodule, as a subsublattice. And but it has a possibly greater quantile of scalars. And since then we were we by meaning I and Tsinakis were thinking of using the extension of scalars to extend the language, to expand the language of a logic. But as I said, for a few years I didn't work on this topic, and then I went back to it, and it turns out that it really works. I mean, if we, I will show in a second that if we use the tensor product for expanding a language, for expanding a system, although at the first glance it doesn't look like a propositional deductive systems, actually it is isomorphic to an expansion that we could make just by working concretely on the language, expanding the language, define a new consequence operator, a new consequence relation, and so on. I will show how it works here. So assume we have a new, bigger language. We have a L1, which is an expansion of L. And we have, so we automatically have an embedding of quantales. And assume we have a deductive system D over this language. We have the associated nucleus gamma, and TH is the module of theories. We want to build a new system which possibly contains the original system as untouched. We have the possibility of doing it by using modules, quantile modules. So we just apply the construction I showed in the previous slides, the tensor product of the power set of the domain with respect to the power set of sigma L with the new quantile seen as a module over itself. In this way, we obtain a new domain, and actually it is isomorphic to exactly the same domain that we could build on the new language. So let's say, for example, if we have formulas, if we are considering a set of formulas, if we consider the set of formulas, the power set of the set of formulas over the new language, it is as a P of sigma L1 module isomorphic to this tensor product. So that construction, although apparently not a logical system, gives indeed a logical system. And even better, if I was able to prove using Quantales and quantum models that there exists a consequence relation on the new domain whose model of theories is isomorphic to exactly that tensor product, the tensor product of the power set of sigma L1 with the smaller model of theories. And another property extremely interesting of deductive systems as quantum modules is the second one here, that the mapping sending each set of form, each theory of the system to this tensor here is an embedding. This is something that does not hold in general for any quantum modules. If I take a generic situation with a module and a quantale, I make the tensor product and I consider this map, it is a P sigma L, well, it is a Q-module homomorphism, but not necessarily an embedding. In the case of logics, it is an embedding, which means that the original lattice of theory, now I'm saying lattice and not module, because it is not a submodule. It is a sublattice. You know, the original lattice of theories is embedded into the new lattice of theories as a sublattice. Essentially, all the deductive part of the original system remains fully represented in the new system. And so we were able to expand the language by using the tensor product. And here comes coproducts and then amalgamations. For coproducts, as I said, the situation is a little bit different. We have coproducts and amalgamation for quantum modules. As I said, when I looked at coproducts of modules, it didn't really look like a deductive system, and indeed it is not. Well, I don't know whether it is not, but I mean it is the construction, the result of the construction that we can make logically. So we can make a coproduct using let's say with the concrete systems. We take the two systems, we build a new system with the aim of having the two original systems fully represented in the new one. And I was able to prove that everything works using quantales and modules. But the construction of the new system is concrete. I mean, just take the connectives, I expand the language, I build a new domain, I define a new axioms and rules, and using quantales and modules, I prove that I can embed the original system in the new one. But the resulting system actually contains the categorical coproduct of quantum modules. It is not the same object. Is it somehow bigger? So let's see how it works. So we have two languages now. We have L1 and L2, and D1 and D2 are the two domain. At first step, as a first step, we consider domains of the same type. So both on formulas, both on equations, or both of sequence closed under the same types. But this construction can be extended to more general situations. So we have these two systems, and we consider the disjoint union of the two languages. Okay, so I don't want, at least for the coproduct, I don't want the connectives of the one language mixed with the other. So we keep the two languages separated. We make the disjoint union of them. And it's possible to prove that the power set of the substitution monoid of this new language is isomorphic to the quantale coproduct of the two original quantales of substitutions. So this is already a good indication. So let us consider now the domain, the same type, the domain of the same type over the new language. And now we have to define new consequence relations because we have a new domain. Okay. First of all, we will call gamma 1 and gamma 2 the nuclei associated to the initial deductive systems, TH1 and TH2 the corresponding model of theories. We have inclusion maps, which are P of sigma Li module embeddings from P of the to P of E. And I define these new nuclei, this time on P of E. So somehow I extend the gamma I nucleus over the new domain, which is bigger. And I define a new another nuclei. So there are various steps here. First of all, I introduce this map. Actually, to be honest, I don't even remember whether this map is a nucleus. But what is this for sure? A nucleus is this one, is delta 1. Is delta 1 and delta 2 are nuclei. They are essentially the nuclei associated to the consequence relation defined by means of the same axioms and rules of each of the initial consequence relation. So we have these two consequence relation and these two nuclei in the new system, in the new domain. We'll just make the join of the two. So the join of these two nuclei is a nucleus over the new system. And I would call TH the model of theories, so the homomorphic image obtained by means of this nucleus. This will be my target model of theories. So, well, we have some technical lemma here. First of all, here we show that if I take two different indices, so E and K, I and K are 1 and 2, they're different. So let's say we consider P of the 2, and I consider on a theory obtained with respect to the nucleus delta 1 of a set of formulas, I obtain that it is essentially the same set of formulas. So each of the nuclei delta 1 and delta 2 acts as the identity over the image of the embeddings of the other domain. And thanks to that, I was able to prove that we have P sigma of Li model embeddings of the original systems into each of the TH delta I. TH delta I is not yet our target system. Finally, we get what we wanted. So each of the original modules of theories embeds into the new module of theories as a P of sigma Li module. Okay, so we have really a new logical system containing the two initial systems as subsystems, as fragments, if you wish. And besides that, by applying also the results of the previous section, I get that the two intermediate systems I used, TH delta I, are essentially the isomorphic to the tensor products I presented in the previous section. And the algebra, the categorical coproduct of modules, in this case are of sublattices of TH1 and TH2 that we showed in my thesis that was possible and how it worked, actually embeds as a sublattice in TH. And so summing up, we have that each of the initial system is fully representable into the new one. So we have really an expanded system containing as fragments the original two systems. Each of the intermediate system we used for obtaining this new system is precisely the result of a language expansion as showed in the previous section. And the sublattice of theories of delta contains an isomorphic copy of the categorical coproduct of the sublattices of theories of the initial systems. So essentially, we have this, I call it the fireworks because it seems to me that everything was like a party and it needed to end with a fireworks. So we have this situation here. Oh, sorry. Here we have here we have the two. I don't know whether you see the hand moving. Are you seeing the hand moving? I hope you do. So in the top of the image of the diagram here, you see the domains of three systems. So P of D1, P of D2 are the initial systems, and P of E is the new one, the one with the expanded language. So here we have the projections over the various lattices of theories, modules of theories here, and everything goes very well to my target system, which is this one. As you can see, TH1 embeds in it, TH2 embeds, and here all the arrows here are module morphisms. In which category? It depends on the domain. So the domain of each arrow here determines which module arrow is that. So this is, for instance, P of sigma L1, P of D1 is a P of sigma L1 module, and this is a P of sigma L1 module morphism. Except the spotted ones, the dotted ones. The dotted ones are just sublattice arrows, sublattice morphisms. Okay, so the coproduct works very well. So let's see what happens with amalgamation. With amalgamation, from the point of view of quantum models, we had the same situation of coproducts. By that I mean that we had a new module which didn't really look like the module of theories of a logic. So we had the same problem. And things, I can anticipate, it's a spoiler, things work very well as well. So maintaining the same notation of the previous section, consider now a new language, which is a sublanguage, a common fragment of the two initial languages. So we have M, which is a common fragment, and we have a deductive system C entails beta on M, which is again a common fragment of the two initial logics. So we have this situation. We have on the language side, we have embeddings of the mode of the Quantales substitutions into the two Quantales substitutions of L1 and L2. And in terms of the active systems, I have embedding of the module of theories of the smallest language, C, of the smallest system, C delta C entails beta, into the two modules of theories of the other two systems, of the initial two systems. I want to close these V formations. First of all, I have to say that amalgamation does not work for Quantales. Well, I don't know whether I mentioned, actually didn't mention in the talk. The category of Quantales does not enjoy the amalgamation property. But the good thing, the good news is that if we consider only Quantales of substitutions of a propositional language, with at least with not with any translation, but with some specific type of translation, which is very common anyway. With any translation, not with any homomorphism, but at least with homomorphism coming from translations. In that case, we have the amalgamation property. So we can amalgamate any V formation like this of monoids and of Quantales. While quantum modules, they do enjoy the amalgamation property. So first of all, we have translation morphisms. We need to close that V formation, and we were able to do so. So on the one hand, we know that there exists, of course, we know that we can embed both the languages and the system into both the initial systems, and therefore into the final one. But the final one is not exactly what we want, because we want an amalgamation. We don't want only a coproduct. So we want that the common fragment to be also identified in the final system. So we have to make this nucleus more stricter, more stronger. no more. We had to make this nucleus stronger than the delta we showed in the previous section. So what we do is that we add some inference rules. We have to add some inference rule. We have this final system in the previous section, and in this system, we add to axioms and rules to the system new rules. These rules are what is the aim of these rules is to essentially to make the translations or the interpretations of everything coming from the smallest system be equivalent in the final system. So this is the meaning of these inference rules. And therefore, the new nucleus we're going to consider is this epsilon, which is the join of delta coming from the previous section, and zeta, which is the nucleus determined only by these inference rules. These new epsilons, we will have a new system on the power set of E. And what we have is that there are module embeddings of hi into th epsilon I. These epsilon I are defined here, are just delta 1 join zeta and delta 2 join zeta. So the two initial systems still embeds in this new final system. The difference that now it is not true anymore that the epsilon 1 does not touch the other system, but that's something that doesn't give any problem. And there exists P of sigma Li module embeddings of each of the two systems th1 and th2 into the final system th epsilon. So we still have embeddings. We still have the two systems represented in the new one. Here, I don't want to go into this, but still everything technically works with tensor product. And what we have is that the amalgamated coproduct in the category of P of sigma m modules of th1 and th2, which is a P of sigma m module, embeds into th epsilon. Th epsilon is actually a bigger module. It is because it has bigger Quantales substitutions, so it has a bigger language. So we have our final target is not the categorical amalgamation in the category of P of sigma m. Is actually something more complex, something richer, and is actually a logical system. So we have formulas, we have language, we have formulas, we have deduction, and so on. And so the final, the final fireworks for this party is this one. We have here on the, it looks like two push-outs, two-story push-outs, and indeed it is somehow. Here, all the arrows are module morphisms. Again, on which module it depends on the domain. So the domain of each arrow determines which is the category of this arrow. And on the upper floor here, we have just the domains. So we have P of C, which is the smallest domain, P of D1 and P of D2, which are the two initial domains. And here we have the categorical coproduct in the category of P of sigma m modules. And here we have the, let's say, this logical coproduct. We have the power set of E, which is the domain over the bigger language. And downstairs here we have all modules of theories. We have the smallest module of theories, the common fragment of th1 and th2, and here we have the categorical coproduct in the categorical amalgamation in the category of P of sigma m modules. But here we have a logical system containing all these as submodules, and so we are able to really expand, to really close that the initial V formation. And here I want to spend some words because my next aim is pretty ambitious one, is to move to first order systems. And we know that the main difficulties from propositional to first order, because then it's just there are only technical differences from with higher order systems. So the idea is to move to first order system and to show that all these can be used to build coproducts, amalgamations, language expansions of systems in first order. We know that the deductive apparatus can be, let's say, we know that everything works pretty well, at least from the deductive part. What we need to check is what happens with quantifiers. If I have to introduce, to consider, let's say, this joint union of the languages, including the quantifiers. So I have to make the quantifiers stay separate from a language to another. And actually, the final target, the final aim, this is very ambitious, is to build a language and a system which is able to contain possibly any tool or any set of systems inside it. If we take, let's say, n of even infinite different first order systems, I want to be able to merge them into a single system. Of course, it will be an extremely complicated, huge system, but the idea is to really define some kind of logos inside which it is possible to embed and to reproduce this construction, essentially, also for higher order systems. And I'm not started. I didn't start yet working on this because of time, but this is my next my plans for the next future. These these are the references I used during the presentation, and that's it. So thank you very much for your presence, and thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Jean-Yves.
All right, thank you very much for this quite interesting talk on a very technical topic. I'm pretty sure that there will be many questions. So I've just posted a message on the chat. If you have questions, please raise your hand, and I'll be monitoring here on a first come, first served basis. So, okay, let me see. All right, so no questions so far. So maybe in the meantime, I can start with a quick question here. So regarding your future aims, as you mentioned, so you want, of course, to do to move to first order logic, and I assume it is full first order logic, right?
Yeah, I mean first order, any first order, yeah, sure.
Oh, in principle, okay, all right. So then the question is, from a technical point of view, of course, there's going to be quite a lot of technical challenges in this move. And then I'm just wondering whether it wouldn't perhaps, from a strategic point of view, make more sense to rather investigate some well-behaved fragment of first order logic before moving to full first order logic, or even modal logic, or as well the different families of description logics. So I don't know if you have thought about this, about these specific fragments, which may or may not make your task easier when, along the way to full first order logic. I don't know if you want to comment about this.
Oh, I may say that I'm pretty sure that, for instance, if I start with a quantifier free First of all, let me stress that when I say first order logics, I mean logics in plural sense. So possibly different systems, not only classical logic, you know, any kind of system. So I think I'm pretty sure that the quantifier-free situation will be pretty easy to solve. At least if we consider finitely many systems. So two systems try to repeat this construction with finitely many systems, quantifier-free. When we move to to full first order logic, some technical difficulty may appear, of course. Honestly, I don't think that the difficulty will be on repeating the construction and from the point of view of the system itself. My main doubt is about the possible model theory. The model theory of a system like that will be what? Will be something really complicated. And what will be a model theory of, let's say, of some theory inside a logic which is at the same time, which contains at the same time, let's say, classical logic and intuitionistic logic. How would, of course, model theory for that will be something extremely complicated, and I don't know whether it could be useful. But yes, yeah, for to answer your question, of course, yes, the first step will be to avoid, at least to avoid modalities and quantifiers at the beginning. So let's see what happens just introducing predicates and what happens. Yeah, because actually the real first technical difficulty is this one, is about the predicates. When you introduce predicates and you have two languages, what do we want to do? Do we want to merge only the logical part? So if we do like that, so what do we have to do? Do we have to replicate the predicates? Do we have to keep the predicates separate? Or can we use the same predicate for both logics? So of course, this will be the first difficulty. And first of all, so we have to start with predicates and function symbols and see what happens. And then, of course, modalities. I don't think modalities is a big problem. The problem is that when we introduce quantifiers, and here, especially in abstract logic, quantifier may mean anything.
Yeah, in a sense, modalities are also a limited version of quantifiers, right? But
Yeah.
sorry, we have one question here by Alexei, please.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for interesting talk. It's the second time I'm enjoying it. The first time as a member of the jury team, and second time today. But as back to April, I have three questions. The first question is, since substitution plays a key role in your theory, does it mean that you employ only structural consequence relations?
Oh yes. Oh, of course, you can just, if you don't want to, if you want to use to consider non-structural consequence relation, you just forget the monad substitution and you can treat it as a sublattice, and everything still works.
But you have aberration when the substitution times where substitution is used as a as a component.
I introduced the operation in the Quantale because I want to take into account the structurality.
Okay.
If I want to forget structurality, I just forget the multiplication there. I just forget the Quantale. Okay. I only consider the sublattice of theories, not anymore the module of theories.
Okay, my second question is, when we say that all system stays untouched, does it mean that when you build a new system and extension, it's a conservative extension of the old system?
Yeah, they're conservative. Everything here.
You can prove conservativity in.
Yes. Whenever you have, let me show you the arrows. First of all, let me go back to Sinakis and Galatos results here. When I say, you see here, it's interpretable or respectively representable or equivalent. So when I say representable, I mean conservatively interpretable. So the representation is a conservative interpretation. Equivalence is equivalence. So here you have the three corresponding situations. An interpretation which is possibly non-conservative is just a modular homomorphism.
Yes.
When you have an embedding, it is a conservative interpretation.
It's not necessarily conservative, even if you have embedding.
No, if you have embedding, it is conservative. Yeah.
It depends on the embedding.
And when you have an isomorphism, it is an equivalence. So you have the two systems. When you have D embeds into D prime here, if the corresponding module homomorphism between the modular theories is an embedding, then it is a conservative interpretation. So you have that phi entails psi if and only if.
Yes, it's incorporated in definition of representativity.
So what happens here in all these constructions, as you can see, they are all embeddings. So all of them are, let me show you the diagram. Here you see, essentially, what is that? T of H1 embeds in TH1 embeds into TH delta 1 and embeds also into TH. So all of these are embeddings.
Well, embedding assumes conservativity.
Yeah, so there is all conservativity here.
Because embedding is algebraic notion, conservativity is deductive notion.
Yes. Yeah, so the deductive notion of conservativity corresponds to the categorical embedding, to the algebraic embedding here.
And my third question is, I would call it a silly question. Do you have any good example of when you really need to expand two theories to incorporate them in a larger theory to solve some problems? Do you have a good example?
Well, good example, more or less. I mean, the idea, at least I can imagine a good example. Imagine when you have the implementation. So this is more a question for computer scientists than for me. When you have a situation in which you have to implement some decision system, and so you want to make, or also an automatic theorem prover, and you want to obtain at the same time what is a theorem in the, let's say, classical logic, and what is a theorem in intuitionistic logic. You can build a single system, and therefore you can implement a single theorem prover. And the same is, as I said, for decision-making processes. I think it may be useful, but I'm not in that area really. So I'm not. I cannot say how it can be useful.
Well, for instance, you have two model systems with different modalities. You want to build a larger system which would include both with their properties and maybe the problem which cannot be solved easily in one system, but can be solved in a larger system. And since you have conservativity, you can have solution to a smaller system. You don't have such examples, like simple examples.
No, concrete examples, no.
Visible.
This is my limit. I always make very few examples of what I do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so now we have another question by Zeno, please. I think your mic is still off. Oh, yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I just have a remark about, because I have a model which uses tensor products. I'm not a very professional logician. I come from physics, and I made this this development where actually I saw that George Boole's mathematical formulation at the beginning was a multilinear development, and it's actually tensor products. So then I developed the system, and in some way the tensor product is natural for composition. And for example, atomic propositions are extensions with identity and all this. And the remark is that I think this is also from a mathematical point of view is very natural, and perhaps it was not, it was overlooked, because if you see what Boole does, he considers idempotence, and idempotence, when you extend idempotence, they're extended with identity. So in some way, I'm not expert in category and all that, but so I made this development. And just to remark, perhaps the question is that for first order logic in quantum information, there can be some ideas, for example, by changing bases which are non-commuting, and then you can get some distribution like there exists, or the quantifiers become as a sort of a projection, distribution projection. So there can be some ideas. I don't know if it can be some way of doing. But I think that the tensor structure is really natural for logic. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Actually, at least in algebraic logic, I see it appearing here and there. So, but mainly on the algebraic side. Very often it is difficult to say how it reflects in a given logic. So if you consider, now I'm taking in mind the algebraic semantics of some logic. So you know, the Boolean algebra, MV algebras. People keep studying tensor products, but sometimes it's hard to say how it relates to logic. In this case, I would say that what we really do here is it's somehow the module and the Quantale are some kind of meta logical stuff here. It is that they are looking at the logic, they're representing the logic. And so in this case, let's say that was pretty easy to understand that the tensor product had exactly the how to say the function of extending the language, because the things were pretty clear since the beginning. What was not clear yet was how whether it was really true. So at the beginning it was clear. Just you look at that, you see that you are enlarging this Quantale, so you are enlarging this language, you're making the tensor product, you're obtaining some new module, and you expect that to be an extension of your system. But as I said, then one thing is what you expect, another thing is what you what you really get. And so in this case, we're lucky, or the theory seems to work pretty well. And regarding tensor product, another remark I will make is that there is a pretty hard to read but very good paper from the 70s, if I'm not wrong, by Katsov, and with a abstract categorical approach to tensor product. So he defines the tensor product as an operation between functors. And it is not, you know, in order to apply it to concrete situation, you need to, probably this is the main problem of the paper, you need to be quite confident with category theory, just to understand the paper. But it is, you know, there is a general theory on tensor product, a categorical approach to the concept of tensor product.
Could you put the link, or perhaps I send you a mail if you have the.
Oh, yeah. Let me see if, well, a link.
So perhaps I will exchange with you by mail if it's possible.
Sure.
I can send you also my paper, which was on tensor product. So if it,
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Would be great.
Thank you very much.
Let me see. This tensor. The title of the paper is Tensor Product of Functors.
Okay.
And is it was published. Let me see whether it's well. I have the paper, so in any case I can send it.
Okay.
It is translated from Sibirsky Mathematisky Journal, so I assume some Russian, well, actually some Soviet journal, but I don't know. Well, I tell you, it's 1976.
Okay.
1976.
It's available online.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Anyway, you can just send me mail. I can send it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So if you have any further questions, so just raise your hand, please. If not, then I would like to thank the world champion again for this nice talk. And I'll hand it over to Jean-Yves. I guess he may want to say a few words about the next seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you to everybody. So I remember that we will organize the third World Logic Prize contest during the next UNILOG, which is scheduled to be in 2025 in Cusco, Peru. Everybody is welcome to join us. Very nice place. And meanwhile, we'll go on with our activity online on situ. So next webinar, Logical Universals webinar, will be next week. And it will be the presentation of the book Logic in Question. I put it on the chat. So everybody is welcome to join for the next webinar. We have two, I just remember that we have 2 sessions per month. So this was the first session of June, and next week it will be the second section of June. Thanks to everybody again.
I would like to make a comment. Can you make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
So when on the jury last time, so it was kind of difficult to discuss teamwork. So I suggest next time to accept papers which represent individual work, or a statement from a presenter that more than or not less than 50% was the presenter's contribution in this work. For this reason, some good presentations were like graded place second or third, because it was a presentation of a group work, teamwork.
Sorry, I didn't understand everything you said. You want to make a more that we have a better distinction.
Accept papers on a jury for a Logic Prize, which represent only individual work.
Yeah.
Or if the group work or teamwork, then a statement from the presenter or participant of the contest that not less than 50% was contribution of the author.
Yeah, I understand your point. I think it's important.
We discussed it. We discussed it. For
Yeah.
this reason, some good papers were not rejected, but they were placed second.
Yeah. I think it's important point. And you see in Brazil, so Ciro was a winner of the Newton da Costa Prize in Brazil, but at the same time there were there was two ex aequo paper, and then we decide to, so for each country there was only one contestant at the World Logic Prize contest. And the reason we decide to choose the paper by Ciro, it was written by only one author. And
Yeah, single author paper.
Yeah. I think we can put this as a condition. It's always difficult to put some very strict condition, you know, and we are trying to be flexible, but I think it makes sense. Makes sense to have a word by one. Yeah.
If I may comment, the only problem I see in that is that you will limit quite a lot the prospective participants. I mean, if you only restrict to single author papers, possibly you have to do the same for the national prize. And
yeah, that's the idea, of course.
This could reduce the possible participants.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult question.
In any situation, you have good and bad.
Yeah.
Also always.
Because it's a difficult situation, because of course I think it's important that people develop joint work. So I believe that to work with other people is very important. So I am in favor of joint works between people. I think it's true in science in general, you know. I mean, if we think about Nobel Prize and something like that, you know, sometimes it's really some joint work. So joint work is important. Of course, we don't want to have 10 people author of one paper, because then it's a bit confusing. But we have to see. I mean, that's why that's what I'm saying. We don't want to be too strict, but it has to be clear that if there are two authors, that it's really a joint work. I mean, like 50-50, because that's the important point. So if we accept paper or contestant, I mean, paper written by several authors, we have to be sure that it's like half and half. It's not just one as a name appear and the other one are just like that, PhD advisor or something like that, you know. So that's not so simple. But I mean, up to now, we succeed to solve the question. And I think that we will try. It's always, we are always facing some different points. And thanks, Alexei, for noting these points. We have to take care about that, of course. Sure. One more comment.
Yes, and so I seem to remember that in the first edition of the prize, only one paper was presented by two co-authors, and all the others were single author papers, right? And so at that time, of course, there was no issue because they made it clear that it was a joint work. So they presented the paper as a team. And so, and then, yeah, so a possibility could be that papers are presented by teams, and then they just decide who happens to give the talk, but then they should be evaluated as a teamwork, right? So that we also allow for multiple authors' papers to enter into the contest, right?
Anyway,
but then of course there may be financial issues, because if you want to, you know, pay the travel expenses of all of them, then of course it's a burden on the local organization. But in principle, I guess that could be a possibility, right? That is not only a single author who wins; it can be the team behind the paper, right?
Yeah. Anyways, this has to be clarified. So it's an important point. All right. So,
So
yeah.
Jenny,
I think
if
Ciro
possi-
has a comment.
Yeah, if possible, I would like to just make some commercial, let's say. You know, I want to remind or to tell everybody here that we're going to have the 20th Brazilian Logic meeting in September here in Salvador, at the Federal University of Bahia. And there are 11 days left for the deadline. So if anybody, we accept paper, we accept submissions also in English, of course. And so everybody's welcome to participate, to submit and to participate. It will be for Ana Monteagudo Sankapanavar, could be an occasion for visiting again Salvador.
Yeah, thank you very much.
By the way, what
Nice place.
what
Salvador.
dates are they?
What?
When in September? What are the
It
dates?
will be from, well, I think 11 to 16 of September.
Okay, I can find out. Thank you.
But anyway, there is a, let me put the website here, just in the chat. Or you can just look for, where is Zoom here? 20th or ABL 2021. Because it was supposed to be in 2021 and it was postponed because of the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ciro. I think it's important to point out that in Brazil there is this logical meeting every, in principle, every 2 years, but there was a problem with the pandemic. And the good point of the Brazilian logical meeting is that there is this idea. I mean, there is, in fact, there are very few countries in the world where there is a regular logic meeting. And it's a Brazilian logic meeting, so it's logic, philosophical, computational, mathematical logic. So in Brazil, we are trying to preserve the diversity of logic. So that's a very important point. And we are, of course, everybody is welcome to come to Salvador. It's a nice place, and Ciro is one of the organizers of this meeting, so everybody is welcome to join.
You know, I was one of the early organizers of the first and the second Brazilian logic meeting.
Oh, congratulations. All right. Okay.
Thank
you. Could I reopen the technical discussion, or is it too late to do that?
Well, I think we are closing, but I mean, if you want to have a short question, you can.
Well, yeah, I had a difficult time framing this question because of the problems involved with dealing with two languages and the forgetful functor of category theory. And very specifically, I suspect I do not understand the notion of nucleus of a lattice in the context you're using it. And so the issue, then the direct question is, if you have two languages like this, or more than two languages, and you want to have a disjunctive operation, how does that work? Or is it clear mathematically how this disjunctive operation would work under the condition that you have categories with different forgetful functors?
I'm not sure whether I understand the question. Here, well, the nucleus, here, the concept of the nucleus, it only serves here to represent the closure operator, basically, of the consequences. So you have a set of formulas. Let's say that we are in a system of formulas. You have a set of formulas, a gamma of the set of formulas. So the image of the set of formulas is the theory generated by the set of formulas.
Within the language, within a language.
Within a language, yeah.
And, yet, and now if you have two languages,
yeah,
and they have different terms, they have, the languages have different terms, different logical constants.
Mhm.
Then
Yeah.
do you use the same disjunctive operation?
Oh, no,
both
what I said here, if you remember, I said that you take the disjoint union of the languages. Okay, so you have a new language containing all the connectives and all the constants of both the systems. Okay, so in this new language, you define a new consequence relation in which the connective of one of the systems behave like they used to behave in the original system, and the same is for the other. And so you get a new system, but you have, of course, you have more formulas. You have formulas with mixture connectives, and please.
Okay, then I guess I'm still, it's unclear in my own mind that that's probably my problem and not your problem. But the example that comes to mind to me would be the distinction between a vector space and a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Would you still feel that the two languages, you could use the same disjunctive operator?
What do you mean by disjunctive operator?
Yeah, that's the question. That's exactly the question.
I mean, you're saying you have two languages with each of which has a disjunction.
Yes, in classical term, in the classical notion of disjunction, meaning separation of the spaces, the logical spaces.
Okay. Well, let me try to explain that. Consider that all this construction is made on abstract systems. Okay, so in principle, I'm not interested in what is the intended meaning of something, of each connective. So what I'm doing here is treating the languages as set of operation of connectives doing something, having some properties which are defined at the second stage when I put the axioms, the rules, and so on. Okay, so when I have the new language, if I had at the beginning two connectives with the same or with similar intended meanings, but with different behaviors, there will be two different connectives in the new system. So if you, I don't know whether I answered the question.
It suffices for at least the moment, for at least the moment. But I need to think about it more in how it plays out in cases of where you can, using abstract algebras where you can actually make calculations such as rings and vector spaces. So thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. No, I think if you think, okay, maybe I got it better. If you think it in terms of universal algebra, so let's think that we have the theory of vector spaces and the theory of rings. Yeah, okay. Then you have, whenever you have something which works exactly the same way, so let's say that if both for rings and vector space, you have a commutative, associative, and invertible sum. So we have a group theory inside. Okay, you have a abelian group theory inside. So all these will be maintained and will have possibly the same symbol because it works exactly the same way in both the system. So this is the case of amalgamation, let's say. So we have vector space, we have rings, and we have as a common fragment abelian group. So in that case, yes, you can keep the sum, the opposite, the zero, as a single connective, let's say, single symbol.
Got it. Yeah, got it. Okay, got it.
Okay.
I think my mental error was in the gap between natural languages and abstract languages.
Yeah. Mhm.
That was my, that was the gap that I couldn't bridge. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And by the way, I would like to take this opportunity to say more words about this Universal Logic Prize, because, you know, we have an event about our meeting is about universal logic, which is a general theory of logical systems. So it was nice to have this prize given to this work, because it was really in this direction to try to develop a general theory of logical systems. Of course, we are open to any work on logic, but the idea of universal logic is really to develop a general understanding of different logical systems. And I think that was the point of the work of Ciro. Okay, so thank you again to everybody, and I hope to see you next week for a presentation of the book Logic in Question. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.